When it comes to RPGs, there's no style of battle system I love more than turn-based combat. The ability to plan ahead or prepare for what the enemy might do is a game loop I just can't get enough of. No matter how bad any other part of the RPG I'm playing is, if that combat loop is good, I can live with whatever the rest of the RPG I'm playing is doing. Not to say I don't care about the other parts of RPGs outside of combat, because I do, since when all of these aspects are working together from story to gameplay, it creates a truly awesome experience. But if that core battle system doesn't land, then it can be tough for me to stick with an RPG, since any flaws found in other aspects of the game just jump out so much more to me. But luckily, this is one of the rare occasions when it comes to Artis Impact that I found myself so drawn in by all the other aspects of the game outside of combat, I couldn't stop playing, and it didn't really matter that the combat overall was a bit of a letdown for me. I say this because if you're someone who loves getting deep into various RPG mechanics, like character builds or strategizing for a tough fight, you're really not going to find that here. Instead, what you will find is a more story-focused game that uses light RPG mechanics to help push that story narrative forward and keep you engaged with what's going on in the world without demanding you master all the mechanics Artis Impact throws at you. Now, these mechanics start with your simple day-to-day life activities that you will experience through the main character Akane and her faithful AI companion Bot, which begins with how interactive everything around them in the world is, from advancing a day and night cycle by sleeping, cooking food over a fire, flipping lights on and off, working out, smashing on doors, and so on. These little interactions can lead to so many different secrets or encounters you would otherwise miss, which these encounters can earn you new items or even permanent passive upgrades that makes Akane even stronger in battle. For example, I found this random cave with 2 bombs in it. If you spam the button on one of the bombs, it will give you the passive skill Button Masher, which permanently boosts your stats, making you more lethal in battles. So these interactions almost always serve a purpose in one way or another and really help make the game world feel alive, though out of all these interactions, there's probably none more important than earning money. That's right, Artis Impact uses the interactivity of the world to help drive home these live sim mechanics of the game, where you can earn money from various tasks that include such things as escorting people through dangerous areas by fighting off monsters, delivering pizzas, selling lemonade, or even running your own soup shop. There's so many different ways to earn money, and I found it oddly fun discovering all of these, though I'm sure some people could find these to be tedious or not very exciting. I mean, just sitting there watching the screen as your customers come in can get boring, so luckily as you progress through the game, you will get the ability to earn passive income that's always coming in. Whether that's from a business you own or by depositing money into a bank account to gain interest, you will find yourself being free to wander around and do other content while still being able to make money, which is very important because money fuels your ability to do so many different things, from being able to buy food that increases your stats to upgrading Akane's and Bot's weapons, or even increasing the size of your house. Money is easily the single most important mechanic in the entire game that ties all the other different game mechanics together in a way that feels very natural and not forced. Though if I had one criticism for this approach to gameplay, I wish the money earning mechanics were a little more interactive. Like when I'm sweeping in the mart, give me some buttons to press with a grading system that gives me more money based on how good I do. Just something simple like that would make these systems and the world that much more interesting, which is something I wish I could say about the combat. Just like with any turn-based RPG, you will take turns going back and forth with your enemies attacking one another on these stylish, cool-looking battlefields that frame the action really well, which you have a small selection of actions to choose from during battles. Basic attacks, which is your standard attack that doesn't do much. You have arts that are basically specialty type moves and how you will be doing the majority of your damage to enemies during battles. These are fueled by 2 different bars, a blue magic power bar and an orange skill bar. While your magic power bar can be full going into battle, the skill bar is something you have to build up throughout a fight by landing basic attacks or arts that use magic power. So you have a nice little system where you are rotating between your different attacks depending on what arts you want to use. Then as your health or magic power drops, you can use items or the handy guard option to recover these. Not to mention during battles, depending on what you have equipped to Bot, he will assist with healing and or fighting as well. Then to build off of that, outside of the unlockable passive skills and streamlined upgrading system for Akane and Bot's weapons that I mentioned earlier, which is done through these upgrade benches, you also have a proficiency system where as you use arts, they will get stronger over time as you defeat more and more enemies. Now at this point, you're probably thinking all of this sounds like some pretty good systems for an RPG, and that's without me even going into more detail on the finer aspects of these systems, like how you get cores from special boss enemies that could be upgraded to provide additional effects to Akane's weapons, or the arsenic system, whereas the rampant AI monsters you battle land attacks on you, arsenic will build up on you, causing additional damage to be taken in combat when you're attacked, which depending on the level of the arsenic will decide on how you can remove it, like showering or using an item, which helps mix those life sim mechanics into the game loop of combat. But with all that said, these systems are so simple to understand and engage with to the point that I feel they really don't add anything to the game, since you literally can just spam whatever upgrades you want or just ignore entire systems altogether and you won't really be negatively impacted. Though this is what Moss was going for when they created Artis Impact. They wanted a more streamlined experience that didn't get bogged down by tedious grinding of levels or micromanaging of your characters, and I can respect that, but I do feel something is lost when combat mechanics become this simple to engage with, because every time I got to an epic boss fight with some badass music playing and I was hyped up about going into the fight, it always led to me feeling a little let down, since outside of like 1 or 2 fights, my battles never lasted more than 3 turns and I never got that satisfaction defeating these bosses. Even from a story perspective, it's funny seeing Akane and Bot talk about how dire situation they are in is when the fights are this easy. So at least for me, I got taken out of the story sometimes because of this streamlined experience. And that's a shame, since the visual presentation of these fights really are outstanding, which is why it would have been nice to have something as simple as a difficulty slider to increase enemies' health or damage, so that increased challenge could have been there as an option for those who wanted it. Because sometimes the challenge of overcoming something difficult can help make a part of a story in a game that much more impactful to the player. But even though I feel this way about the combat, like I mentioned at the start, the other aspects of the game easily make up for the downsides of the combat, and no other aspect does this better than the game's approach to storytelling. As you progress through the game, the cutscenes are presented in this hand-drawn, almost comic book style presentation that makes them feel so full of life, despite 99% of them being still images, which this style of presentation paired with Akane and Bot's personalities made me constantly look forward to what was going to happen next in the story, since the endless humor coming from those two, despite how dark the overall tone of the story is, was second to none. Those two truly carry this game, and is why it's so much fun searching every inch of this world as them, since at any moment you could not only be finding secrets or useful items, but finding new cutscenes and interactions between them and the people who live throughout this world, though it's not all sunshine when it comes to the story experience. My biggest reason for saying this is because as you get to the end of the game, it really feels like the game's story is just getting going at that point, where you can easily get 10 or more hours out of the game between the main story and side content. The ending of the game really does feel like it should be the middle of the game. There was so much more I wanted to see from this world and characters. I just felt a little empty with how things ended. Though on the bright side, the game ran without any issues for me, so while being disappointed by the ending, I knew I had a smooth experience waiting for me when starting a new Game Plus run, which I probably enjoyed my second playthrough more than my first, since there are various moments in the game that can change how things play out in some pretty big ways. Not to mention my understanding of the game made it easier for me to find secrets that I missed on my initial playthrough, and I have a strong feeling a lot of people will find their second playthrough way better than their first for the same reason. Now with all that said, do I recommend Artis Impact? Yes, as long as you understand this game isn't an RPG first type of game, this is a story driven life sim game that uses great artwork and fantastic music to deliver an experience to the player while also throwing on some light RPG combat mechanics to mix up the gameplay. Does it have its issues? Yes, but I strongly feel the positives outweigh the negatives, and there's a very strong foundation here for something truly special.